Ian. Today I have a couple of gamers here with me. I have on one side Nork and on the other side Spald Dog. We're going to be playing some Battlefield 1, you know, going over just the first-person shooter genre, how Battlefield has shifted in recent years between Battlefield 4, Battlefield Hardline, now to this, and then just what the future might hold for multiplayer games as a whole. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get this started up. Probably get a game of Rush in. So Nork, I know you've been playing first-person shooters for a little bit, not quite as long as me or Spald Dog, but what's your take on how things have come from your days of, you know, back on the 360 with Halo to now?
Honestly, it's gotten better, and also something it's gotten worse. So hey, I think it's more of the fact that they've been able to keep down on the hackers.
Okay. Spald Dog, I know that first-person shooters was mainly your priority of games that you shift towards. So, what's your opinion on it?
I believe that a little along the lines of what Nork said, but also that I've been playing Call of Duty since I was in middle school, and obviously a lot has changed. And I think for the better.
All right, what's some of those things that have been better?
I'm going to say the content for sure has definitely the quality of content has definitely increased over the years. Obviously, as new developments in gaming came out, and just having the ability to change what the buyers of first-person shooters are interested in. I've noticed a big change in that.
Okay. So I'll just go ahead and get on that too. I really didn't start doing the whole first-person shooter stuff until, you know, Halo came around. I mean, that's pretty much been a big one for everyone with our generation. So, you know, I started off Halo 2 at a group of friends, just at a party. Then the 360 came out, changed the whole game with Halo 3, and then because that was basically a whole revolution for multiplayer games, or at least online multiplayer games in general. And then a couple years later, Call of Duty Modern Warfare came out, changed the game from then to forever at this point, because pretty much, at least from my perspective, Modern Warfare set the groundwork for everything that is multiplayer games today. Whether it's the class system, the how people can connect to each other, just the sense of competition from video games. You guys agree on that? So let's just take a step back for a moment. So we all started playing together roughly about a little over 3.5 years ago, something like that. Back then we were playing, you know, Call of Duty Black Ops 2, was it? Or no, it was Ghost, Call of Duty Ghost. That was pretty much our main thing. And then we had Dog got Battlefield 4, correct? I know, at least for me, Battlefield 4 was really the first Battlefield game I started getting into. Because I played a little bit of Bad Company 2 before that. Didn't really have a chance to play Battlefield 3. But yeah, for the most part, my biggest introduction was Battlefield 4. And how... Go ahead. All right, so first of all, to viewers, I want to go ahead and just make a disclaimer out here. I'm not the best at Battlefield, by no means. I don't try to claim to be. I would say I'm a little bit more than the average bear skill-wise, but what you're seeing here is just a pretty much me on a normal basis. I'm not no god or whatnot, but I'm just trying to enjoy the game. Now back to Battlefield 4. What about you, Small Dog? Was that your real first entry into the game, or where did you start?
I started Battlefield with, I believe it was the original Bad Company, and then I liked how that game was progressing from the first Bad Company, and then it started to, you know, I also kind of watched some YouTube channels.
Sie dürfen dieses Ziel nicht kriegen, verteidigt es!
The enemy has armed objective apples.
2, I think it was.
Anyway, I enjoyed watching the gameplay of that style, and so I started watching, and then I started playing. I started with Battlefield Bad Company.
Okay, so just going back from, at least from our experiences together, from 4 we kind of played a little bit of hardline. It wasn't, you know, nothing special, just another run-of-the-mill first-person shooter. But I guess the biggest change was from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1. What's your thoughts on the amount of change came in such a short amount of time? I mean, yeah, it wasn't that short of time. Obviously, there was like 4 or 5 years, you know, between games. Oh no, Small Dog got me. How could you do that? Oh, go ahead, continue, Nort.
Enemy coordinates have been sent to our artillery.
Right, and I've seen that throughout all the other games.
The enemy has armed objective butter.
Well, I think part of that has to do with the shift in times. You know, these guns are, you know, World War I guns, you know, roughly. You know, you gotta put some in, you know, make some changes to make, you know, consumers, you know, more appealed to it. But yeah, switching from like modern guns to these old era guns, I think that has a lot to do with it. But you're right, it has made a big change, you know, especially with the physics and stuff. I know one grievance I have with this game compared to the other one was honestly, the lack of depth. In the multiplayer, let's just stick on multiplayer for right now. But yeah, the lack of depth in the multiplayer, because yeah, they kept the same class structure essentially with some minor changes, but like if you really think about it, each class really only has like 3 guns, all with different variants of that same gun. Granted, again, it goes back to the times, but I still think that they could, you know, put a little bit more depth. Now, the map structure has been amazing across the board. I haven't actually got a chance to play that new map, but the They Shall Not Pass DLC, the whole thing on that was excellent.
Very well structured for all types of classes.
We have lost.
Yeah, because they've got the they've got both, you know, the big maps for snipers like you and I, even though right now I'm using assault, and then they got that's close quarters maps, and then even then they're even on the close quarter map there's still room for medium-sized combat. Right.
Enemy coordinates.
Now, just make a small shift in what we've been talking about. The multiplayer as a whole for online competitive gaming, we've seen a lot of changes in recent years with new additions, new IPs, and stuff like that, such as games like Destiny and Overwatch. With that being said, what do you think holds for the future?
The enemy has armed objective apples.
Well, I mean, you gotta think about this though. You touched earlier on new develops and like technology across, you know, the innovations that we've seen. Right now we're having the emergence of VR, and even though it's still relatively new, it is growing in popularity. That could potentially open up a lot of avenues for more competitive games
We have lost
like this.
objective apples.
I can actually see that happening. Having access to a console, because right now, as you're saying, VR is it's pretty slim right now. Not a whole lot of people actually have access to virtual reality or.
The enemy has armed objective butter.
Not only that, it's just the pricing is a little ridiculous too at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment it'll be.
We have
a little
defused objective
overpriced
butter.
just for the fact that they have to get off the ground. That's kind of how I see how they're starting their how they're starting their
Vorsicht, Panzer!
I can agree with that, but at the same time, I also know that there is
The enemy has armed
a great number of people who don't believe the VR is going to be a success. They just think it's going to be a fad. And that's right, and that's the same thing they said about, you know, when the first time they actually introduced the original iPhone. They thought, oh, people that's not going to buy into it because it has no buttons and stuff like that. But as we can see today, they were wrong.
We have lost both objectives.
curious thing how virtual reality will go
I would say
Sent to our artillery.
it has part of that is going to be the advances in technology, because you know you have, at least what I would like to see is get some type of virtual reality that I know I'm gonna sound, you know, pretentious like this, but kind of just like, you know, Sword Art Online, where it actually intercepts that the signals in your brain and puts you into the game. I know that there's a lot of complications with that, you know, developing that technology, but it is a pipe dream to at least have that access. Oh shit.
Going to school, going to work, you know, if you could do it from the convenience of your home, you don't have to do much of anything. All you gotta do is just flip on a little visor, and then everything you need is right there.
Right, but I think that's a topic that we should delve into another time, because we're kind of straying off topic here. So back to just the shift change in first-person shooters. We've seen several changes just in the last decade. Really, think back to 2007. Like I said, we had Halo 3 come out in 2006, and we had 2007. We had Call of Duty 4 Advanced or Modern Warfare.
Enemy coordinates have been sent to
The demographic has completely changed for that. We're no longer seeing, you know, just
The enemy has armed objective
people that you know thought, oh hey, games is a hobby, it shouldn't be taken seriously, to now there's a whole circuit and on several different professional leagues for games. I mean, you gotta say, at one part I was a member of, you know, the Major League Gaming. I mean, you can't, if you know, you watch my gameplay today, I mean, you wouldn't guess that. But yeah, we do have several avenues for that games have been taken seriously. I mean, do you still think that I don't even know where I was going with this. Yeah, what?
I think it's changed a lot since you know, shooters started their creation. Everybody thrives to
Yeah, I'll agree with that, but at the same time, it's human nature to strive to win and be the best in some aspect, and I think this adds. Yeah, and I think this is an actual acceptable way of that you know, just the average Joe can go out and do. Granted, that is an aspect, but consoles are becoming more and more affordable these days. You know, whether it's, you know, inflation or stuff like that. But regardless, more people have access to it now than there have been 10 years ago. So, I mean, really, I've been a big fan of how the whole gaming aspect has changed. Not just for me as a gamer, but for the general public as a whole. You know, because like we said, more people have access to this stuff now, and it's easier to get a hold of. granted, consoles like Nintendo Switch and the VR stuff, they're such a hot commodity these days. They are hard to come across. But these mainstream ones, such as the PS4 and Xbox One, they're a lot easier to come by, and making gaming as a whole easier. And goes back to the same thing we were talking about with, it goes back to being a better outlet. It's more people are more accepting, and it just a stronger sense of sportsmanship actually is coming out in this, because people are taking it more seriously. I know there's that big thing with the 10-year-old kids that get on and bash and whatnot, but that's just a stereotype, really. I mean, over the years we've played, and how many of those have we actually come across?
The enemy has armed objective apples.
Just passing time after work, school, whatever. And it's pastime.
We have defused objective apples.
Alright, I can understand that. So, as we've been, talking for a little over 20 minutes now, I think it's about time that we should, get some final words in, wrap this up. So, Battlefield, the franchise, shifting context. Has it been a good transition, bad transition? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it's been a pretty good transition from going to how it started to how it is now. There's a higher demand, as you see I'm trying to think how to explain this right, but just a higher demand, you see an increasing quality of battlefields. So people who have started since, I don't know, maybe Battlefield 1, we'll say. Or excuse me, not this Battlefield 1, but like the very...
No, I got you. Yeah, the first Battlefield.
And I guess it was just like that. An increase in quality and just the transition has made itself apparent from how it started to how it is now.
Alright. Nort, your thoughts? Okay. Alright, first-person shooters as a whole. I think we've seen a lot of good things. I think we've seen a lot of bad things at the same time. We've seen, the emergence of the Call of Duties, the downfall of the Call of Duties. We've seen the emergence of Halo. We've seen the downfalls of Halo. We've seen Battlefield. To me, the only downfall that they've had was Battlefield Hardline. It didn't really sit well with a lot of people, that type of gameplay. What's your thoughts on just the first-person shooter direction they've went, just in closing statements?
They've been doing a lot more, and that's a lot better. Honestly, I think it would be nice to see them on VR. But
Well, so the only VR first person that I've seen shooter type is the game is Farpoint, and that's, I guess, the closest right now that they've gotten to first-person shooters with the VR.
Well, that's just PlayStation VR. The other types of VR, like Oculus Rift and HTC Vive, they do have their own types of first-person shooter games.
You're right. I'm just speaking purely from a PlayStation standpoint.
Yeah, okay, I can understand it, but there is more stuff coming in the future for that. All right, and then just all right, we got just a couple more minutes here. We'll have the future of multiplayer. Where is it headed? What what should we expect in the next 5 years?
A lot. Especially since they've been advancing so quickly on everything. Honestly, I think bigger servers probably be coming here soon.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that, especially with games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds coming to consoles. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that game, but it's a huge battle royale game on the PC that is coming to the Xbox One, and potentially it's coming to the PS4 as well. It's PlayerUnknown's Battleground.
I haven't really heard much about that game, but I could definitely see that in the future of multiplayer, they're gonna obviously, with the increased server size, they're gonna make sure that there's less downtime.
We have armed objective butter.
The servers, so they can actually, keep the quality of gameplay up, and obviously continue tapping. Obviously, we'll see in the future how it goes.
All right, fair enough.
The enemy has defused objective butter.
So, I think that just about wraps up. We touched on a little bit here and there of a little bit of everything. We will be coming back, in the future with more topics, different games, different genres of games. And I think the next time we all get together like this, it'll probably be on like an RPG or something like that. Something just completely different than what we've been doing tonight. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. We had Nork over here.
Yo.
We had Spald Dog.
Hope you guys have a good one.
And then, of course, I am Shadow, and we will see you next time.